Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole from the 4th District of Oklahoma. It's another one of our congressional chats. Been actually a very busy and frankly very successful week in some ways in Washington, D.C. If you happen to be up here visiting this week, you saw an awful lot of police officers. We probably were the safest place in America. Once a year, it's National Police Week, and we get police officers from all over the country that come up here. It's a very moving time for them because they honor officers that have been lost in the preceding year. There's a memorial here, and names are added to that memorial regularly. But it's just great to see them. I mean, these are the people that too many folks take for granted to put their life on the line every single day. For all the rest of us to be safe. And we always try to move a lot of legislation across the floor that is related to law enforcement, and we certainly did that this week. So that's all good. It was wonderful to have them here and to see them appropriately honored. It's actually one of the things that tends to bring Democrats and Republicans together, quite frankly. There are some folks that don't want to fund the police. I think they're underfunded as it is, and I certainly appreciate when they're here and enjoy, honestly, the interaction with them and the honoring of them. So that's a big week. But legislatively, big week. We're in the height of what's called appropriations season, particularly at the committee level. So we've been moving legislation out of committee. There are, again, 12 different bills that fund the government. We've now moved 5 of them out of committee. That means they're ready to go to the floor. And we'll, this week we moved Commerce, Justice, and Science. You think, well, what does that really mean? Well, law enforcement, Department of Justice. Department of Commerce, though, is where the National Weather Center is funded, and where a lot of weather-related research is funded. And that is OU territory, so to speak. The National Weather Center is at the University of Oklahoma. We're probably the premier university in the country for weather-related research. So we work very closely with the University of Oklahoma. I got a really nice note from President Harris just thanking us for the things that were in the bill that will make sure that the center continues to be funded, and the very robust research effort at the University of Oklahoma. So we have a really particular interest in that, and I can tell you they fared very well in the House Appropriations bill. Always happy to help them. So we had a good week in committee. We also had a great week on the floor. We actually passed, literally this morning, the Military Construction and Veterans Administration bill. It's across the floor, and it was an enormous bipartisan vote. This was not one of those narrow Republican versus Democrat thing. We worked very closely with our Democratic colleagues in Appropriations. They came out of there unanimously, and it passed the floor almost unanimously today. I can't remember what the exact vote total was, but we didn't lose a single Republican. I think we only lost 15 to 20 Democrats. So this was a really, there are things that still bring Democrats and Republicans together, and honoring people that have put their lives at risk to make sure that they get the benefits that they earned, make sure that they get to help those of them that are suffering from service-related injuries, or frankly even non-service, because once you've served, you're eligible for the Veterans Health Care Facility, and some of that service-related, a lot of it's not. But we want to thank the people that, again, voluntarily put their lives on the line for the country, and that bill, again, passed a great bipartisan vote. So Congress actually is working and doing rather well this week. Then beyond that, obviously, we've had the president in China. That was a very important meeting. We're all anxious to hear what he has to say. We also had a very important appropriations hearing in defense earlier this week, where there was a lot of discussion. Secretary Hegseth was there, so a lot of questions. I always worry because there's a lot of controversy over Iran or what have you. We're going to have fireworks in the hearing. We had some folks that sometimes demonstrate that we're at the hearings. That's fine. They're welcome to the hearings. They just have to behave while they're in the hearing room, and people did. So we didn't have any disruptions in our hearing. And it was a very civil but very pointed discussion with the Secretary. From an Oklahoma standpoint, we saw a big change in the Pentagon's posture. Earlier, they talked about eliminating what we call AWACS, what are called E3s now, we've been arguing that they need to be replaced by a more modern plane called the E-7 Wedgetail. We've already purchased 2 of those. They're not yet there. They'll be there next year to train with. And the Pentagon was going to suspend the program, or at least talking about it, but they've reversed thinking. We've been talking to them a lot. Frankly, I suspect watching the air war in Iran, they decided we don't want to lose this capability. And I can tell you, Air Force pilots certainly don't want to lose it. It gives your fighter pilots and your other airplanes 360-degree awareness of anything else in the area. It's important, obviously, in combat, but also important in just directing air traffic. We've had a near collision in one of these efforts over Iran, and partly because we didn't have the aerial awareness that we needed. So we're glad to see the Air Force and the Pentagon begin to rethink their position on that. We're going to continue to fund the program. Again, there's a lot of jobs at Tinker that are tied up in maintaining those planes, not to mention the men and women that operate them. They do an exceptional job in equipment that is ancient. I mean, these the AWACS that you see so often in Oklahoma City skies. The newest one of them, these are bodies or airframes, that are old 707 airframes. So they date from the 50s and the 60s, and the whole fleet was developed in the 1970s. So these are planes that are pushing 50 years old, or older in some cases, that are in combat conditions right now. So we need a new one, and again, we had some good success doing that, and it was actually a question to the secretary from me, asking him about E-7s. He made, hey, we're rethinking that. We think maybe we do need some more of those. There's a place for them in the battlefields of the future, and so we're glad to see that, and that's good news for Tinker Air Force Base, good news for Oklahoma, and so we're going to continue to champion that program, and I think we're going to be successful this year in terms of additional funding to add new ones to the fleet in the years ahead. With that, I could go on and on, but you only have so much time, and just want to thank you for tuning in, and hope you and your family are doing well. I would ask you, we still have men and women in harm's way in Iran. We're in a ceasefire. Most of them are not in combat, but you can't count on the other side not to take pot shots. That certainly has gone on some, and we're in very important negotiations that we all hope succeed. I think the president's following in on a long-standing American commitment. We do not want Iran to ever have nuclear weapons, and that's really what this is all about in the end. And it's about reopening the Strait of Hormuz so that we can have normal traffic through there, and that would bring down gasoline prices. We don't have any lack of supply in the United States, but anything that disrupts the global supply pushes up the price for everybody. So hopefully that will be wound up soon, and the men and women that are doing a great job for the United States will come home safe and sound. We've lost a few, not many, but every loss is a painful loss and devastating to the families involved. So just keep those men and women in uniform in your thoughts and in your prayers. As I said, it's National Police Week, so wouldn't be a bad thing to play for your local officers that make sure you're secure in your home and your community right now as well. They do a tough job. They do it well for us every single day. So with that, I hope you and your family are doing well. Good luck. God bless. We'll talk to you again soon.